Despite its childish and wildly immature nature, Talking with Dinosaurs is not intended for children. It has blasphemy, sweary words, sexy talk, and bad thoughts. It is for entertainment purposes only, and while care has been taken to keep information as accurate as possible, paleontology is an ever-growing field with new data and theories constantly changing how we see these prehistoric monsters, so we make no guarantees about accuracy. I mean, not that it matters, paleontologists are just making it all up as they go along anyway. And Mum, I'm still very, very sorry. Whatever time of day it is for you, dear Dinophile, I'm about to make your day either much better or much worse, depending on your view of this podcast, because it is time again for another episode of Talking with Dinosaurs, the world's #1 rated not safe for work comedy dinosaur podcast hosted by a New Zealander. Can you believe it? It's that time again. But seriously, if this news makes your day worse, why are you listening? It's okay, you're free now. You can go, I'm not going to judge you. But for those of you glorious few who are here for this, today is the day. So what shall we talk about? Just after the release of the last episode, Sex Lakes, for those of you who haven't checked it out yet, an amazing discovery was announced. Something that sounds like it comes straight out of a shitty parody of Jurassic Park. Maybe one of those terrible Asylum-style rip-offs. You see, in the mines in the Kachin region of Myanmar, a piece of amber was found, with an ammonite in it. Now, for those who have seen or read Jurassic Park, you will be aware of the concept of amber fossils. Pretty much, something gets stuck in some tree juice, gets completely covered in it, and is preserved pretty much forever. In Jurassic Park, preserved mosquitoes have blood-containing DNA, which allows Sir Richard Attenborough and James Cromwell, with the help of B.D. Wong, to clone extinct creatures and their own children. You know, as you do. Unfortunately, or realistically, fortunately, given what happens in the films, such cloning is currently impossible, and no Tyrannosaurus Rex are currently on the loose in Northern California. That I'm aware of, anyway. Please send all photos of non-avian dinosaurs to talkingwithdinosaurs@gmail.com. We could both be very rich with this, yeah. Now this is not beyond the realms of possibility with future discoveries though, with some estimates claiming DNA could be preserved in amber for up to 100 million years. Whoa. Does that mean we're just a small scientific breakthrough away from having ammonites swimming in the world's oceans again? No, of course not. Life's never that cool. You'll have to make do with nautiloids like everyone else. The ammonite's iconic spiral shell was all that was preserved, as the soft tissue had already decomposed by the time it was enveloped in that viscous resin. Much like modern nautiloids, it is believed that ammonites floated by adjusting the density of gas in the many chambers of their shell. Now, I know the obvious joke here is that ammonites are fart-powered snail octopuses, and I am absolutely going for that. That is fucking hilarious. And a wild oversimplification of how it actually works, but, you know, farts. Fart-powered octopus snails? Brilliant! Evolution has had some fucking amazing ideas, and this is definitely one of the best. This gassy buoyancy meant that when an ammonite died, it probably just sort of floated around for, like, ages. What probably happened is one of these floating fart coffins washed up on a beach in Cretaceous Myanmar and just happened to be in the path of this delicious-looking goon army. Yeah, that was a hell of a portmanteau, and I'm very proud of myself for it. Self 5. Now, ammonites are bloomin' interesting creatures, and were very good at surviving for a very long time. They first popped up in the fossil record in the Devonian period about 400 million years ago, about 100 million years after our creepy Cambrian comrades, and they lived until almost the end of the Cretaceous, giving them a lifetime score of about 330 million years. This is a higher score than mammals, dinosaurs, or even reptiles in general. They are the top of the high score chart though, being narrowly beaten by trees, just a touch, and being utterly trounced by fish in general. Great job though, ammonites. Now I just realised I haven't really described the ammonite yet. It's likely you don't even really need me to, as it's a pretty iconic creature. No marine paleo art is complete without an ammonite floating around, maybe eating some other smaller fish, maybe itself being devoured by a mosasaur. But those who have not yet seen ammonite in Pokemon, imagine a floating snail shell with a squid poking out of it, powered by farts. Shit, sorry, I couldn't help myself. It was right there. So good. Farts, yeah. Not all ammonites necessarily look like this though. There are a large amount of species known as heteromorph ammonites, with all sorts of weird and wonderful shaped shells. Some particularly outstanding examples are nipponites, which were mostly found in Japan, thus the name, and had shells that looked like they had tied themselves into knots, and Didymocharis, which looked like a downward sloping spiral. Pretty much, if there's a brass instrument, there was probably an ammonite shaped like that. I compared ammonites to nautiluses earlier in the episode, because they're both cephalopods with curved shells. But weirdly, ammonites are more closely related to octopuses, squids and cuttlefish than they are to their extant lookalikes. I mean, that probably doesn't mean much to you unless you're Sarah McAnulty, but it's a cool piece of trivia that will definitely save your life one day, I promise. You're going to be tied up to that volcano and that super villain's going to be like, no, how closely related were ammonites and nautiluses? And you'll be like, well, actually, talking with dinosaurs. And you'll go, oh, Stefan, you've beaten me once again. Oh. Sorry, I don't know where I went with that. What this does suggest, however, is that ammonites likely had ink sac, allowing them to spray ink to defend themselves or just to refill their printer cartridges on the cheap. One little secret the printer companies don't want you to know. This is actually also backed up by fossil evidence, in which ink has been found on the inside of these fossil shells. Damn it, the printer companies, obviously backed by the reptoid Illuminato, must have got them in the end. Such a shame, taken so young. 330 million years was just not long enough. Well, that's enough nattering about these spiraled socialites. It must be about time to give them a rating. I give them a 330 million out of 4.5 billion, which is pretty high in the big scheme of life. And now, the break.
This is Kim, your friendly neighborhood ER nurse. I'm the host of People Are Wild, the only podcast that claims to bring medical entertainment, medutainment, on a weekly basis. I can be found on your favorite podcast listening app, iTunes and Google Play, and you could talk to me on Twitter at People Are Wild.
All right, back, breaky done. It's time for questions and hopefully answers. The first question was given to us from our good friends at Dice Envy, who ask, what dinosaur had the biggest feet? Well, according to science and evidence and all that nonsense, Brachiosaurus probably had the biggest feet of all time. Of all time. But I like to think that Gigantopithecus, the giant ape that haunted the forests of Southeast Asia up until about 100,000 years ago, could have been bigger. I mean, it looked like a Bigfoot, and Bigfoot's name is Bigfoot, so what more could you possibly need? I mean, we don't have any fossilized feet for it, so how do we know its feet weren't over a meter wide, making it bigger footed than the Brachiosaurus? Actually, I kind of hope it didn't. I have enough trouble finding shoes myself for my weird-ass feet, but it must be an absolute nightmare if you can fit an entire car tire in your footprint. I mean, to be fair, it does still suck if your feet are 2 sizes wider than they are long. Thanks, genetics. But seriously, if you have any shoes that are size 11 long and size 13 wide, New Zealand sizes, please send them my way. I haven't worn shoes in years, and I look like a giant, disreputable hobbit. It's a nightmare. Thanks for the question, Dice Envy, and don't forget to check out their awesome dice at diceenvy.com. Now it's time for greatest contributions to dinosaur science by non-paleontologists, because fuck them. Our segment where we celebrate the normal people doing dinosaur-y things. This week's winner are the private collectors of fossils who still allow the specimens they own to be researched. Private ownership of fossils is a real problem for science, and when the owners can just choose to keep them for themselves, well, countless discoveries will probably never be, discovered. Just because they're owned by some rich tosspots who want to display them in their living room to show to their guests. Because it's not legal to kick down their fucking doors and take the fossils to someone who can advance human knowledge with them. All I can do right now is congratulate those privileged enough to own scientifically significant fossils who aren't massive selfish piss farts. Good job. Okay, so that is it for this episode. I apologize for the delay. This episode was recorded and even uploaded 2 weeks ago, but corrupted, and there was no backups for some reason, so this all sounds like made-up excuses, but I assure you, it's true. That doesn't justify why I didn't re-record it for 2 weeks, but I'm tired. Like, fuck, give me a break, guys. Anyway, you're all lovely. I'm kidding. You guys are great. Anyway, I'm very tired, so I am going to bed soon. But before I do, let me first thank Electricity for the amazing theme song. As usual, there's a link to his stuff in the description. Also to Adam Donahue for the logo for the podcast, the great contributions to Dinosaur Science segment, and now for the technical difficulty splash screen for when I'm streaming games. He is a legend. Yeah, that's right. I stream at Urshats on Twitch. Sometimes I stream dinosaur-related stuff, but right now I'm playing through Dark Souls, and it's pretty fun. Why not watch? I would also like to thank my new patron, Heather, and the rest of my patrons who are supporting me on Patreon, especially the incredibly generous William from the Cheers to Gaming YouTube channel. If you want to be a patron to a podcast that occasionally is severely late, and potentially get your name in the lights, and by lights I mean episode's description, of said late podcast, head over to patreon.com/talkingwithdinosaurs. You can give me money if you're silly enough to share. That being said though, if you do have the money to share, you could probably be using it to donate to actual charities, educational facilities, wildlife funds, or just use it to raise an angry mob to rob unexamined fossils from selfish bastards. If you want to communicate with me, or maybe ask a question for the show, please dear God, ask a question for the show. I literally have just one question left. Just one. Don't make me have to think of a new segment, because that will be a disaster. You can flick those questions through to talkingwithdinosaurs@gmail.com. You can message me at TalkingDinoCast on Twitter, or ask it in the Facebook group, Talking with Dinosaurs Dinophiles Anonymous. I'll include links in the description if I remember, but thanks again everyone. Ka kite anō, I'm Stefan Ato, and we have been talking with dinosaurs.
Like making fun of really, really bad ghost hunting shows?
There's one in particular we enjoy making fun of. It's called Ghost Adventures, and it includes things such as
bad fashion sense,
grown men yelling at nothing,
outrageously large belt buckles,
too much hair gel,
and unfortunately, a lot of really cringy, painful, and socially unaware stuff too. I'm Cassie.
And I'm Max.
We're the hosts of Insanely Haunted, the show where we watch and review every episode of Ghost Adventures.
Find Insanely Haunted for free wherever you get your podcasts.